LoFiOldMan Deep Dive. Firstman Mosrite Avenger. Hello, tubers. Backstory. Not all guitars have a backstory, but this one has. Sometime during the pandemic, a client gave me a gift for my birthday. I added some more, and I used that sum to get this guitar. This was not the first time that this client gave me a gift, but this was the last time. She is no longer with us, but we had 33 years of friendship together. To others, she wasn't easy to get along with, but strangely, I didn't have that problem in all my dealings with her, both professional and casual. Yes, sometimes we disagreed, but we disagreed as friends. I named this guitar after her. Firstman Mosrite. In some videos about Mosrite in YouTube, there is no mention of the Japan era of Mosrite. Firstman was a Japanese guitar manufacturer that was allegedly licensed by Mosrite to make their guitars from the late 60s to the early 70s. The key word here is allegedly. Like many Japanese companies at that time, the first products were copies, but this one has the Mosrite badge on the hardware and on the headstock. Eventually, Firstman became Mosrite Japan in the early 70s. As I have previously mentioned in another video, the history of Mosrite is messy. There are conflicting accounts if the Japanese versions were ever officially licensed, and the inclusive dates of that official relationship are unclear. We will not do history here. You will have to do your own research because, again, there are conflicting statements and I can't verify which one is right or wrong. To compare, the guitar we are featuring is the picture above. The one below is the US Mosrite Mark I. For me, ultimately, the guitar itself is more important than its history. If it plays well and sounds good, that is all right with me. Music does not care if the instrument is made in Mars or Jupiter or if it is a POS worth a few bucks or a AAA vintage specimen worth a fortune. In addition, there are no serial numbers anywhere on the outside of the guitar, and I'm not keen on opening it up and look into the parts just to have it dated. It's a Japanese Mosrite bit from the late 60s to the early 70s, and that's it. Vintage guitars are like old people. The less we need to open them up, the better. They are not resilient to invasive surgery. Clips. Just for fun, I decided to do all the clips from Nirvana. Technically, this is not the model used by Kurt Cobain. He used a Univox High Flyer, which is also a Japanese copy of a Mosrite, and this is not that model. However, I've been corrected by a viewer that Kurt also had some US Mosrites that were either stolen or damaged, thanks to Lemon River 27. For the signal chain, the guitar goes to a Box VT40X amp, and the video is shot with a cell phone, as lo-fi as it can be. repairs. The only reason I can sometimes get guitars on the cheap is when they have issues, and this guitar is one example. Most issues in this guitar had to do with strip screws, and there were a lot. I actually learned how to remove strip screws with this guitar. Here we can see that the neck plate has two screws replaced. You can imagine how hard it was for me to remove the two former strip screws. The original bridge posts, which are made of pot metal, are gone, and I replaced these with the bridge posts and thumb screws for a tune-o-matic bridge. Pot metal with age becomes brittle and crumbles like old plastic. I did not replace the old bridge posts with genuine Mosrite USA parts. The price of those parts are more than half of what I paid for this guitar. Major repairs usually need multiple sessions, and this guitar required several sessions, beginning years ago during the pandemic and up until I decided to feature this instrument. In this picture, we can see that the frets have tarnished due to off-gassing of something while in storage. Also, we can see here in my initial repair that the bridge isn't quite right. The action is still too high despite my having introduced shims inside the neck pocket. Facing the guitar, there were shims on the Z and X axis. These were to raise the neck angle to bring them closer to the bridge. And if you look here, the low E is very close to the edge, while the high E has a lot of room, which is alright with most songs until we try to play Come As You Are at the root of the low strings. Even after the initial repair, the action was still too high, and I didn't want to add any more shims, so I improved the action by lowering the bridge. Repairs for guitar this old and of this quality can never be perfect with my limited budget, tools, and skills. So in fixing the bridge, I have lost the ability to adjust the height of the bridge. I kind of eyeballed the desired action, added a washer on each bridge post, and then used the thumb screws to fix the bridge. This guitar will never be a gigger, meaning it cannot be relied upon for frequent and intensive playing without checking every now and then, but it's reliable enough for doing all the clips and some occasional playing. This guitar has sentimental value to me, so while it will never be perfect, it will always be in playing condition. The intonation system of this guitar is extremely complicated. To intonate, you have to loosen the string, remove the bolt and wash out the back, pull the screw out of the bridge, then move the saddle back and forth for the desired distance for intonation, then put the whole thing back in the bridge and then return the washer and bolt. And because there are six strings, we will need to do that six times, assuming that we get the intonation spot on at the first try. It's essentially trial and error because we have to disassemble the contraption, check the intonation if we guessed it right, then adjust again if we were wrong. Thankfully, the guitar's intonation, while not spot on, is close to spot on, so I did not have to fiddle with the intonation. The screw and the bolt at the end are screwed together, and the saddle is adjusted by turning the saddle itself along the screw, which is impossible if the bridge is sitting low on the body. And as this picture shows, I've replaced the tuners, and years ago, during the first repair, I didn't bother looking for tuners that look similar to the original. So all of these quirks just add to the mojo of the guitar. For as long as it is in playing condition, it's okay. Body. The body is made of either basswood or mahogany, and that German carve typical of Mosrite bodies. It has a three-way pickup selector, one tone and one volume, and a jack outlet. While the guitar has the Mosrite badge on the trem and the headstock, the knobs do not have that Mosrite M logo like in the US made ones. The trem is not in very good shape, but I don't see the need to replace it. Neck. As previously mentioned, this guitar was in storage for a while, and the frets have tarnished black due to some off-gassing. Yes, they look hideous, but they play alright. I also need to wash my hands after every time I play the guitar. So I clean the frets and fretboard, and I replace one of the markers by using a fret dot marker, which coincidentally was the right size. The rest of the markers I clean by scraping them with a small flathead screwdriver. I don't want to replace the old fret markers unless I absolutely have to. The neck is maple with a rosewood fretboard and a zero fret. I also added a string tree in the middle, and you can see that I tried several options before ending up with this one. The D string still has a buzz, but not enough to mess with the tone and the playing. Electronics. I may be repeating this over and over again, but if the 60 cycle hum is not a problem, P90s are my favorite pickups. In the previous clip, we heard how the pickups respond to touch dynamics. The gentler we play, the softer the tone, and the guitar starts to growl with more attack. This is great for me since I don't like to mess with knobs and pedals while I play, and this guitar is a good example of touch dynamics. Verdict. Well, what can we say about a guitar that's about half a century old? The metals of this guitar look like pot metal, and the metals of the US version are better, not by a lot. I'd say we are at the sunset season for many old guitars like this one, and especially for this shape because many other brands are making versions of this guitar shape. Nothing lasts forever, and we are just squeezing a few more tunes out of this guitar. How does it compare with the US version? I don't know because I don't have this exact same model of the US version. However, this video might be of some help. For me, other than the sentimental value and the quirkiness of some of its parts, it's a good example of this kind of guitar. We made it play well, and I like the response of the pickups. This guitar is slightly over 8 pounds or 3.6 kilos, my upper range of how heavy a guitar should be. If we can get this on the cheap and we can handle the repairs, whether by ourselves or with the help of a luthier, this is a good guitar. This is a notch lower than high quality vintage Fenders, Gibsons, and Gretches, but in my opinion, this is better than Taisco's budget guitars and other catalog sold guitars. Theoretically, an Asian made Mosrite, if we can find it, should be a bit cheaper than the US version. Quality wise, the US version should only be marginally better than the Japanese make. This is all for now. Thank you for your time and hope to see you soon.